Hello. Oh, wait. Hello, my name is Stix. I am super pretty. Aren't you guys envious of how amazing I look today?
No.
I've made you guys wait long enough to talk about both Mrs Stix and my personal experience within PSO2. Regardless of whether or not you agree with me, both Mrs Stix and I did have a lot of fun. We had an absolute blast playing PSO2 over the course of the first month of its PC launch. During that time, I did do quite a few videos discussing how the game was going and how the game was being handled. But now I want to go ahead and talk about the game itself, along with why both Mrs Stix and I ended up enjoying it as much as we did. But at the same time, why we're also no longer playing it currently. Before I go ahead and jump in though, I do want to give a small shout out to Exit Lag, which I and quite a few other MMO content creators use to help not only reduce our ping in MMOs, but to also go ahead and mask our IPs so we can play games that are otherwise IP locked. Kinda how PSO2 is technically only available in North America. Now, I have always been a fan of PSO2. Seriously, I have videos done on the game dating all the way back to 2017. Yeah, 3 whole years ago. This was long before the game was ever announced to have an official Western release plan. Yet even though I was a fan, having played other titles in the franchise, I never stuck with it. This is partly due to me being busy with the channel, and partly because the game was always more difficult than most. And with the fan translations being all there was to go off of, I found myself confused at times, and with limited time to actually learn the game, I just opted to pass on the game altogether. Fast forward to a couple months ago, PSO2 officially launched on PC, having rolled out onto Xboxes earlier this year, of course, and I found myself sucked back into the game. This is, of course, due to the fact that I have to cover this because it is an MMO, it is a new release, and everyone was pretty much expecting me to. But at the same time, I was also incredibly excited to, because there would finally be an official English translation. It would finally be fully localized into English, and I figured this would provide an easier means with which to kind of learn the game. Things would make more sense. And honestly, I know some of you might disagree here. Some of you might think that I'm a terrible MMO player based off of this statement. But honestly, even though it was completely translated into English, the game still is a very complex game to learn, which, don't get me wrong, is in no way a negative thing. It is not bad at all to have a complex game. It's just a game that requires a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, and some research. All things that are admittedly hard to do with how limited time I have right now, with moving to a new house, with working on both the main channel, the mobile channel, and streaming as well. So I just at times found myself a little bit overwhelmed. Now, at its core, PSO2 is a hub-based action MMO. You can see tons of players on screen while in the space hub, and you can group up with and participate in missions varying quite substantially in size. Yes, you did hear that correctly. There is no open world to explore, and I know some people were disappointed to find that out after downloading and logging in for the first time. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot to explore. There is a large variety of different, unique environments to play through, each with their own aesthetic look and feel. Thankfully, regardless of whether you're a fan of hub-based instanced MMOs or not, one thing everyone can appreciate is a good combat system, and PSO2 does not disappoint. You wouldn't think that this game was almost a decade old when playing it, as mechanically, the game still feels fantastic. Sure, graphically, it definitely shows its age, especially in the earlier zones, but as you continue to make progress and unlock additional zones, that changes pretty rapidly. Honestly, I do look forward to when episode 5 launches, as that is roughly where I started and my personal favorite point of the story. The action combat system interestingly provides players the option to equip 3 different weapon types and bind several skills to each weapon. This allows you to make use of various different roles that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. As an example, I had a katana and a bow equipped, meaning that while bosses or monsters were engaged in close quarters combat or placing close range AoEs on the ground around them, I could keep my distance and I could go ahead and make use of my bow. But in instances where I wasn't required to keep my distance, you can bet I was in there stabbing people with my katana. Now I bet you can understand how important this system is now, right? Now, as of July 2020, we're currently playing through content in episode 3. When I started the game, we were at the end of episode 4 or the beginning of episode 5. I cannot recall specifically. I know that we're still quite a ways behind Japan in terms of content. We're very limited in what we're currently capable of of doing. The PSO2 team are aware of this and actually made a blog post on their website a couple weeks ago addressing content concerns. Episode 4 is going to be coming next month in August. Episode 5 will be coming the following month in September, and finally fully catching up with Japan with episode 6 towards an undisclosed point at the end of this year. So you can bet that while the content available to consume is definitely limited, we're going to not only have plenty of new areas to explore, but a steady flow of new content to sift through and complete over the course of the year. Mrs Stix and I got to play through quite a bit of the game. Well, I mean, by quite a bit, I mean we got to play through the entire thing up to level 50 something with all of you, with our community. We ran so many different instances, we completed so many missions, we literally got to meet hundreds of you guys in game. And then we even got to invite, I think, like, what was the cap on it? Like 100 different, or actually, since Mrs Stix and I count as 2 people, 98 of you to our guild. I think, like, it functions pretty much like a guild, so I'm gonna go ahead here and call it a guild. We had our own home where we could just group up together, we could chat, we could relax on that weird, like, little beach thing and have umbrella drinks, you know, those beverages where you have the tiny little fancy little umbrella things in them. Yeah, and it was a blast getting to meet and play with everyone. This is the point of us streaming over on Twitch, so we can do awesome things like this together. And having so many of you grouped up in game participating with us was incredible. There were concerts that we went to. There was this one area in the shopping district that we went into where there was this like really big ball that we played, like we were kicking it around with each other. I think we did that for like 10 minutes straight. We had a whole group of people just like kicking the ball between one. It was the stupidest thing. Man, it was fun. Honestly, like this game, our experience in this game was an absolute blast. But Mrs Stix and I both chose to initially install the game via the Microsoft Store initially, as the tweaker at the time did not offer a functional means to play. We played for 2 weeks straight until they rolled out their maintenance fix that was supposed to fix some of the issues players were having, and there were quite a lot of issues preventing players access, trust me. Once again, I did multiple videos on this, and at that moment, Mrs Stix's game just got nuked. She could not play it again. She tried for several days. She uninstalled everything. She tried installing it via the tweaker. She managed to get in the game for like a day or two, and then it broke again. This left us feeling just frustrated, much like a large percentage of players, and instead of trying to continue to fix it every time it broke, we decided that it was just a better choice to go ahead and delay playing it. Not indefinitely, but just for the time being. Now, it was announced after all that PSO2 was going to be coming to additional platforms in the future. So we were hoping here that having a potential Steam release would allow us to go ahead and bypass the terrible Microsoft Store experience and not have to use the tweaker at all. Plus, by that time, there would be episode 4, episode 5, and episode 6 to play through, so there would be so much more content to consume and do with everyone. Now, at the end of the day, Phantasy Star Online 2 is a fantastic looking game. It plays absolutely brilliantly, and we had so much fun playing through it for the couple weeks we managed to with all of you guys. And honestly, we would have loved to have played through for a lot longer than that, but honestly, with how the game was handled and all the issues that players had, it just wasn't worth it for us right now. So, you know, we, along with a lot of other players, have instead just opted to, for the time being, pass on the game, which is no doubt going to inhibit the overall growth and success of it, at least in the short term. Yet, even so, there are still quite a few players that are actively playing the game, and there will be a large influx of new players when there are additional means with which to go ahead and actually access the game. Now, until then, go ahead and enjoy some of our highlights from our streams with everyone on Twitch.
To make sure we don't, you know, not have a belly button? Question mark? I don't know.
Well, at least they have the jiggle down.
Oh, what anime is that from? I remember the dude. What is it from?
A lot of anime have this hairstyle in it. Oh my god! I was looking at the chat and I died.
F's in chat. F's in chat.
No F's in the chat for that death.
F's in the chat for that death.
Okay, so maybe katana on a hardcore is a bad idea. Look at Reptar down there, the puny little robot man. Look at him. He's so tiny, he's so puny. Who's the big robot now? With what? Your tiny little sword? Look at my sword, buddy.
I will catch you.
Okay, I'm gonna stand here and let you guys figure out what to do with that weird red blood permeating device.
Okay, thank you, I guess. Let's see, I need to deposit some of this shit to storage.
Oh god, I knew
die?
that was gonna happen. Oh
Gosh,
wow.
thank you so much.
Guys, the water, there's actually a current in the water that moves you, like physically moves you. I had no idea that existed. We got like all these really nice people and I feel bad because like they're so nice. And I know how bad the community is, the MMO scene in general, so I'm like, man, what just happened?
F's in chat for Stix.
No F's in the chat for me.
F's in chat for Stix.
I was running by that and I just decided I was gonna take a nap. Oh, thank you for the Twitch Prime oil.
So much.
Oil ass? Oh, oil little lass. Sorry.
Oh my god. And
Like, I read
they
that-
never sub again.
I read that as oily ass, and I was like, oily ass. Well, you know, that's an interesting name. Like, I don't know why it's oily. I
I
get that
found a
checked.
giant dude. No.
Okay, here goes. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you, I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I'll not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Bravo. Bravo. Get up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He rammed me so hard. Like, that's the hardest I've ever been pounded in my life. And I've been pounded hard. You know, he has corona. Are you dead again?
All I did was come in.
I'll get you. Here you go. That's 4 deaths, guys. 4 F's in the chat. 4 F's in the chat for Mrs Stix.
What?
Mrs Stix died 5 times, guys. There we go again. Oh.
No!
Oh. 6 F's, guys.
You died too.
Guys, 6 F's in the chat for Mrs Stix.
Arkan Lost says, Stix, why you let your lady die so much? Exactly, this is all Stix.
I can't help it.
Yes, you can. Take aggro or something. I don't know.